Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Jordan.
And I'm Juanita.
And this is Love Does Cost a Thing.
It costs everything,
y'all,
baby.
We back. we back.
We're back.
Hit that subscribe button below. Join the family, all things LDCAT.
Yeah.
We are honored to rock out with y'all every single week. Shout out to our sponsor,
Whoop, whoop.
the one and only
Ooh.
Unashamed Apparel. Shop.unashamed.com. You can get your Unashamed Apparel right there at shop.unashamed.com. And of course, you already know they're hooking you out with a 10% discount code for your entire order. So don't wait. Shop today. Shop.unashamed.com.
Yeah.
Let's get into today's episode. What are we talking about today, Juanita?
Today,
Simple
we
question.
are going to answer this simple yet complex question
Make it
of
comfortable.
should our love, should our marriage, should our relationship be effortless?
Should it be effortless?
Like, you know, Disney, they portray,
Rom-coms.
you know what I'm saying, this princess
Cinderella
in a castle.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying? Prince Charming is on the way. He's going to set me free. He's going to save me.
He's going to set me free.
And we're just going to live happily ever after.
With no issue.
Live happily ever after.
With no problems.
Yeah. I'm just going to blink and you just going to get it right.
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today.
So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to debunk that myth.
We're going to debunk that myth.
Okay.
And again, this is one of those topics that really lives in our subconscious as opposed to our, everyday thinking. Like, many people wouldn't outright admit this.
Right.
I would say, right?
I agree. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about it. I think that it goes without saying that anything that is of value, that has worth, is going to require some sort of substantial process in making it become worth it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It wasn't the cleanest way to say it, but I think that everything that is of value and of worth or worth something requires a process that builds it up to be that. And it's a relationship. Is that clear though?
Yeah, because I think if you think of it from the perspective of like even like a career, like you don't just start out as the CEO.
You don't start with the corner office.
You have to start somewhere and then you kind of work your way to the top.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this concept is the same with your relationships. Now, I want to put some very clear boundaries in place because this can easily be misinterpreted, and we obviously want to be sensitive to individuals who may have actually experienced extenuating circumstances or detrimental things like abuse in their relationship, whether it be physical, mental, verbal, or the like, right?
Yeah.
That ain't what we talking about.
No.
Anybody, a joker ever put his hands on you, whichever way it is, man, woman, whomever.
Yeah.
Deuces.
Yeah.
Get up out of there.
Yeah.
You ain't, listen, you ain't supposed to be no punching bag.
No. Verbally either.
You ain't supposed to be no doormat.
Yeah.
That's not love.
Yeah. So we're talking more about those like very generalized like situations where sometimes we subconsciously believe that like if this is my love, my true love, my forever love, like it should just happen.
Right.
Like I shouldn't have any like disagreements. Like we don't outwardly say that, but sometimes we believe that. Like I've believed that before, not on purpose, but like, I think society does a really good and bad job of making us believe those types of things, you know?
When I think about like building a strong marriage, a strong relationship first, and then leading into a strong marriage, I think about the idea of a team, right? I think about the concept of team and teamwork. Everybody on the team has a role to play. Yeah. I played football growing up. Everybody ain't the quarterback. Everybody ain't the center. Yeah. Everybody ain't the kicker. Right? You guys get the point. Everybody has a role to play. Yeah. Now, there may be times where me and my role, I have a different perspective than Juanita and her role. Right? Now, as a team, we have to work together to figure out what is the best next step. Yeah. So that our team can be successful in whatever we're facing right now. Yeah. And so, quite naturally, those conversations may come with confrontation, okay? I say it all the time. Juanita was, you were 18, 19 when we met?
Mm-hmm.
Something like
18,
that.
yeah.
Or let's say 18. She was 18. She was Juanita 18 years before she ever knew Jordan Green Ellis existed.
Mm-hmm.
Same for me. I was Jordan Green Ellis 21 years before I ever knew Juanita existed. Well, 19 and 21. Whatever it was, right? And so that doesn't just automatically change.
Yeah.
And you should not expect it to, right? And so here's where the effort comes in. This is the requirement. This is the foundation that's needed for that team to grow together, to be able to complement each other, to find the common ground, to play off of each other's strengths,
yes, that's
watch, and cover each other's weaknesses. That's the beauty of a team. Even if there are two quarterbacks on a team, right? Let's say, the A quarterback or the first string quarterback is good. The second string quarterback got to be good too in order to carry the team, right? And so I want you to jump in there a little bit. How do you feel about this concept of teamwork as it pertains to building a strong relationship leading to a strong marriage?
Yeah, I think that that's good because when you think about a team, like I'm just a leader naturally. I think you're a leader naturally. It's really hard to build a team.
Very. It's challenging.
It's really hard.
But why though? Talk about that.
I think it's hard because everybody has to play their role, just like what you're saying. But then everybody brings something different to the table.
Yes.
And everybody has their own experiences. Everybody has their own situations that they bring to like your team, right? And so you have to be able to navigate who those people are as individuals and play, like how you were saying, to their strengths, and then say like, okay, player A, okay, you're strong in this area, player B is a little weaker in that area, okay, so you're going to support them in that area, but then player B has this strength and then you have this area for growth, so then you're going to support them here. And so it's really that navigating that piece of like how do all the puzzle pieces fit, right? And I think when you're navigating that, confrontation is going to happen.
Yeah.
When you're navigating that, there are going to be some things that come up that do require you to give a little more effort. And I think that's where we have to lean in more and not take a step back. I feel like especially in those earlier times of building relationships where you're like, okay, we're a couple of months in, we can see ourselves being together forever.
Right.
Now it's starting to get hard, right? Because like you're in those honeymoon months, right? When you first start dating, because everything about that person is amazing. Oh my God, this person is awesome. Oh my God, they breathe and it's just so beautiful. I never saw someone take a breath so like beautifully before, right? Because it's so new.
Right.
But then it starts becoming new. And now it's becoming your normal. And now it's every day. And now you're like, if you breathe one more time. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm just kidding. But what I am saying is that when that normal sits in, you have to like do something different.
Yeah.
So that you don't get stuck in like this normalcy of like, again.
Yeah. Here's the issue. The issue is that where people find themselves in this problem is that they don't want to adjust to the new normal because they want the newness of the relationship
to stay
while they still are living their own individual life.
Unpack that a little bit.
Okay, it's like this. I like her as my girl. She looked good, right? All those types of things. She's kind. She's sweet. Got a good head on her shoulders.
Oh, thanks, babe.
Girl. Right? And so we want all of those things, right? Without adapting to the idea that now it's not just me anymore. Is that clear?
Yeah, but you getting in there though.
Okay.
That's getting a little deep.
But you see what I'm saying though?
Yeah.
Because it's like this is where the effort comes in. And you made a good point about the puzzle pieces. The puzzle pieces should fit with effort. You shouldn't have to force them in. Okay? That was good, right? I almost jumped, but I had to let you finish your thought, right? And so when you're trying to fit those puzzle pieces in, you have to rewire or allow your brain to be rewired, especially when you're married. You don't have an individual life anymore.
Yeah.
Like you have your individual life, but it's not just you anymore. Two shall become one.
Yeah, you're just not thinking about yourself.
So you cannot, and this is where people be getting up out of there in marriage and in their relationships. They have what are called deal breakers, and that is a thing. But I'm talking about the slightest little thing, right? Mm-hmm. I'm talking about the slightest little thing. Not that it shouldn't be important to you, right? But it's almost like you're looking for a reason to get out. Don't be looking for a reason just to get out. Or if he doesn't miss, or if he doesn't make the mark, or if she doesn't make the mark, don't let that be the reason that
that's
makes
good.
You
be like, oh, they're not the one.
Yeah.
Like, well, you don't know. Just sticking there a little bit longer.
Yeah, like it requires your effort in that regard.
Yeah.
Now, again, there's a fine line between, I know this is a little ambiguous for some. I'm sorry. Ask your question if you have one. But I'm just saying, like, I need y'all to understand that when you are serious about each other, it's going to require you both to give effort when there's conflict.
Yeah.
You cannot withdraw. You can't simply withdraw. You can go back to your corners and take a breather.
Yeah.
But don't simply withdraw because there's conflict. No, my friend. It's a grave mistake. These are the moments where the foundation of your relationship is built much stronger.
Yeah. I was just thinking that because as you were like talking, I saw this vision of like construction workers and like this idea of building, like when a construction worker is building, they're not sitting in a chair, right? Like they're actually up and they're putting in effort, right? Like they're putting in work to be able to build like this building or this structure or whatever it is. And it's the same way with like any type of like relationship.
Yeah.
Like you can't just expect it to happen. And I want to speak to this because I did say in a previous video, like how I knew that Jordan was the one was because our love was effortless. And what I meant by that, or what I even went on to say, was that the effort that I gave, I didn't feel like pressure to give that type of effort.
Or
force. And that's what I meant by like effortless. Like I didn't feel burdened by it. Like sometimes you feel burdened in a relationship to be like, oh my God, I gotta do this. But when it came to like knowing that Jordan was the one, whatever like I needed to do that was appropriate, of course, like I didn't feel this pressure to do it. It was like, I want this to work, so I'm going to put in the effort or the work to make this work.
Yeah.
And that's really like more of like what we're saying. Not this idea that like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh my God, I got to work my fingers to the bone. Like, not necessarily that, but more so of like, do you feel this strong like burden to make it work, or is it more of like an encouragement?
Yeah. I think it's twofold also. I love what you just shared because one of the things that helps when you're in the position of having to make the sacrifice, right? Or compromise or whatever adjective you want to use is that you will see how this will play out in the long run. You'll see the benefit of what it will do for y'all.
Yeah.
Right? Now it's twofold because you still have to have, especially when you're dating, you still have to have your own like private time with the Lord to get that additional confirmation, especially when you're not married, right? Because y'all aren't bound to each other just then. You don't have to submit to him or you don't have to submit to her. It's a mutual submission, y'all. Anyway, and so with that being said, especially when you're dating, you want to ensure that, let's say it's new, it's a topic that you may not have encountered before or something that you may not have sacrificed or whatever before. You still want to ensure that it's pleasing to God. And that can be another layer of confirmation to say, okay, it is okay for me to kind of like settle in this area. When I say settle, I don't mean settle for less. I
understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean like compromise because this is my potential wife or this is my potential husband. And we have to build the muscle of becoming one.
Yeah, I think it goes back to one of our earlier videos, like this idea of the difference between your preference and your values, like, or your standards. Like, God can be like, oh, I'll move that preference out of the way, right? Like your standards or your values, the things that you hold true is not necessarily something he's like, move out of the way.
Right.
But more of like those things that like, whether you have them or not, like you're going to be good. So like those like really small things Jordan is talking about, like where you are able to compromise. Like, oh, I would really love, you know, to have a red door, but like my partner would prefer a black one. Like that's not really going to make or break anything, like sure, you know. And that's very like generic.
Right. But here's the thing. Let's make it even more practical. The red door may cost $400 more extra dollars. Right? But you want that red door so bad, but y'all budget won't allow for that $400 extra dollars. If you're asking me, we're getting the more cost efficient door.
We're getting a plain white one.
We're getting the cost efficient door because it don't make sense. We just need
no beep beep on it, just open it yourself.
Listen, manual. You feel me? And so that's an example of what we mean, right? Yeah. That's an example of what we mean when we're saying fit and not force the puzzle piece.
Right. Yeah.
Because in the long run, right, y'all can think whatever y'all want to think about me. Listen, it don't matter. Call me a penny pincher, whatever. Listen, I'm wise. I'm going somewhere. We going somewhere. I'm preparing for the future. And that's my role, right? Yeah. As the husband. The point is we can get the red door. It's just not feasible for us right now. Right.
So those are things you're just basically saying, like, those are things that maybe you can't have yet. The power of yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it's that big of a deal to my wife, I'm going to get the red door. We just can't get it right now. You know what I'm saying? We can't get it right now, but we can get that red door.
Yeah, so it just makes me think about how crucial this is, like, in those beginning stages of dating. More so, like, when you guys are in a position where you feel like this could be a forever thing. I'm not necessarily talking about like when you're going on those dates and you're trying to figure out who you're going to spend some months with.
Yeah.
Like more of those like relationships where you're like, can this be forever?
Right.
I think that this idea of like, should love be effortless is a good kind of like way to play into that particular like situation, because those are when you're going to start talking about those hot topic things. Like, do you want kids? Where do you want to live? How do you want to spend your money? Like all of those like bigger things, like what type of career do you want to have? Are you open to traveling? Like those heavier topics that could actually make or break a relationship. I think you should keep for those situations where you're like, okay, this does look like a person I want to spend forever with. And so when you're talking about like things like kids, right? If you're saying I want children and you don't want children, that's not something we settle on.
No.
Okay?
No.
There ain't no one day. We talked about that in the previous episode. There's no one day is not coming.
Not coming.
Okay? Yeah. No.
That is one of those things where it's like, if somebody want kids and the other person don't.
Right.
Nope.
But if someone
unless the person who wants kids is okay with not having kids.
Right, but even that gets a little like chalky.
You're right. Thank you, wife. So because that remorse in the long run.
Because then you always think about it. I don't like that second guessing stuff. Right?
Yeah.
But
good point.
But it could be where that person is like, oh, I want 2 kids, and you like, I want 3.
Yeah.
That could be a part where y'all like, well, we're gonna settle for 2.
Right.
Or we can go one more for 3.
Right.
And so that's what we mean when we say there's a difference between like this idea of like settling and compromising for the good of your team.
Right.
Right? What is better. So like one thing that Jordan and I always talk about when it comes to children, like you'll always hear him say like, I'll yield to you, meaning to me, because he knows like I'm the person that's going to like birth the children. I'm the person that's going to go through the process. He goes through the process with me, right? But he's not physically carrying the child. So it's a different type of like going through the process. And so in that case, that's what works best for our marriage, right? So he's not saying have 50 kids, Juanita, because he understands that Juanita is a person that has to carry those 50 children.
But if
right?
Juanita wanted to have 50 kids, we can have 50 kids.
Right. So it's more so of like doing what works best for you and your relationship, but just knowing and understanding that there is going to be a little bit of like tug of war, right? And not in a negative way
at the beginning,
but more so of like, hey, this is what I think. Okay, this is what I think. Okay, now we put that in perspective, but this is what I think. Okay, now I'm coming here. It's like now you're going to tug of war to go to the middle, right? Like it's not like I win or you win. It's more of like, okay, where is our common ground?
We got to find out how we
win. What does this look like for us?
You guys got to find out how we win, and that is going to require someone to drop the rope,
right,
or someone to tug a little less, if you will. And I also think that these types of conversation make for a much healthier relationship.
Oh yeah, do it before you get married.
It makes for a much healthier relationship because there's clarity.
Yes. Lord.
There's clarity. There's no ambiguity.
I'm telling you.
You're not on chapter 4, and your spouse or your partner is not on a different chapter.
I'm telling you, marriage is gonna make it worse. We have another episode for that, but it's gonna make it worse if y'all don't get it clear right now.
Yeah, and it's not that you get everything clear. It's that when those things come up,
you try your best to figure it out.
Yeah, you get clear on it.
Yeah,
and you try to do it quickly because you don't want stuff to pile up. Don't act like it wasn't a problem. One of the things that I said to Juanita, probably the first week that we got married, I said to her,
"Oh Lord, what you say,
girl?" We were sitting upstairs in the living room. I was just like, none of us deserve to be walking around in our own house just mad and not saying nothing. Yeah, that's dumb. I said, I'm not gonna live like that, and you're not gonna live like that. Yeah, we're not gonna live like that. We are not. That was kind of harsh. I'm sorry. We're not going to make this our norm. Yeah. We're going to refuse to do it. We're going to have whatever conversation we got to have. We're going to get whatever help we need to get. We're going to figure it out because that's the beauty of becoming one. Yeah. That's the beauty of having a lifetime, a for lifer.
Oh, yeah.
It's the beauty of it. This is why marriage is important. This is why marriage is separate from boyfriend and girlfriend, because it's until death. And who wants to live the rest of their life like that? Not I.
Yeah, so I think as we're coming to a close, the big idea that we were trying to hit today was this question of like, should our love be effortless? Should our relationship be effortless? And eventually, should our marriage be effortless? And the answer is no. It's not going to be effortless. You wouldn't want it to be effortless. Yeah.
You would. Can we talk about what that might look like, though?
Like, what do you mean by like what that might look like?
I think we kind of touched it earlier. Yeah. When we talked about like the kids thing, if there's never any resistance or having to figure it out, and maybe resistance is not like
I think it's more of like you need that challenge. Yeah, and not in a negative way.
If there is never that challenge, I question if whether or not both parties are actually like content with where they are in their relationship. Yeah, if I say yes, or if you say yes to every single beck and call, right? To me,
I understand.
That's kind of questionable, because it's like, do you not have your own mind, your own thoughts, your own?
I think it's safe to assume that, but what I do think is that sometimes you do have people who are like, I really just don't care. But I think in that case, it's still not healthy, because then you're not growing. Yeah. Right? Because what I've learned, and I'm a person who doesn't necessarily always like the opposing like thought, I've learned that it really does help me grow. Like, I've been in situations where I've had the opposing thought, and then situations where I haven't. And I'm literally like, give it to me. Like, anybody oppose me. Anybody. Because like, when everybody's just like, yeah, that's good. It's like, you don't know what you're missing. You know what I'm saying? So it's that idea.
And then here we go. It also made me think about it. It makes me feel like there's just one person carrying the team.
No, yeah, I understand that.
You see what I'm saying? It's like,
but sometimes people don't feel that way. Sometimes people like that. Like, if you do have a more dominant person in the relationship who is barking orders, and then a less dominant person that's like, okay, yes, ma'am, or yes, sir, it works for them. That's why I brought up the perspective of, but are you truly growing? Because it may work for you because you're okay with that and genuinely okay with that, but does that push you to be your best self? So I think it's both, right? I think it's what you're saying too. I do think that there are aspects where some people, or situations where some people are not really content, but they just don't want to like push that button because they're like, oh my gosh, everything's gonna break apart if I do. And that's not a place where you want to be.
It's not, because eventually that person who's carrying y'all is going to need to take a break. And that's why the Bible says 2 are better than 1.
Or the person that is saying yes to everything is eventually going to say no. So you don't want to get to that point. So that was good. I just didn't know if we wanted to leave him like that. That was a good like ending, because I didn't think about that. That person who was saying yes all the time, just one day, I don't want to say snap out of it, but their perspective can like vastly change, and because you kind of just get tired of it, or you start wanting better for yourself, and you say to yourself, I don't want this. Like, no. You know, you think to yourself, like, what do you mean no?
So I think that especially for those who are dating and single, I want you to make it a point to really seek the Lord for what your life may look like. I think marriage is for most people, not for everybody. I think marriage is for most people. And so if you have the desire to get married, that's usually a pretty strong indicator that, you know, it's something that's permissible from Holy Spirit. And so if that's on your radar, right, God is not necessarily letting people get married just for the sake of a companion. No, there's a purpose behind your marriage.
Right.
And so I think that you should have an idea. Maybe you're not able to specifically pinpoint what the purpose of your marriage is or a purpose that you will fulfill in your marriage, but have an idea of it. Have an idea of it so that when you come to meet your potential husband, there will be some really strong indicators. It won't be as hard for you to tell, like, this might be a strong candidate, because it will align with what God has already put in your heart. Is that clear? And so I want all the singles to make it a point to have an idea of that, so that you are not blown by every direction of the wind, so that when you are seriously courting or dating someone, like I said, you're in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
No, I mean, I agree with that. I think that it's kind of hard to know what you want. I think some people just know, and some people don't. So I think
I mean, when I say know what you want, though, I'm not saying that you have to have every I dotted.
No, I'm just saying here's
what it looks like practically. Here's what it looks like practically. You have a desire to solve a problem, whatever the problem may be. The problem may be that every time you see children who don't have their needs taken care of, right? You want to help them, right? That may look like you starting a nonprofit. That may look like you working for an organization that solves that issue. That may look like you starting that organization. That may also be like you just taking extra care of your own kids. But it's on your radar. And when you meet your husband or when you meet your wife, they will share something similar to that passion, or they will be willing to push you forward in whatever God has called, put in your heart to do. Is that clear? Okay, I don't want nobody to be confused. If y'all can't tell, Jordan hates ambiguity. I hate it. I despise it. And so I really want everybody to be clear. Just trying to be truthful. I want you to be clear. Though, everybody may or may not, and I would appreciate the conversation or so. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I kind of hijacked a little bit. What were you about to say? Do you not remember? It's all good. I think we done, y'all. Are we done? Are we done for the day?
Y'all praying for us. Yes.
Are y'all praying for us?
We are done. I love my husband. I love myself.
I love my
Praise
wife.
the Lord.
Y'all, if you got questions, there's a link in the description right here. Copy and paste it in your URL. Ask your question. Join the Love Bug community. In that same link, you can fill out the little questionnaire, and we would love to serve you in that way.
Yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe,
all that.
Share
everywhere.
And share again.
And share it again.
Okay, thanks for joining us tonight.
My name is Jordan.
And I'm Juanita.
And this is Love Does Cost a Thing. Be up out of here.